Hi everybody, this is Mrs. Davis. I'm sorry there's a snow day today, but I don't want to miss a day. So we're going to go over classes and objects, a basic review, and then you'll have a homework assignment. There'll be 6 questions and then a small class that you have to write. That'll be on a separate sheet. So go over this with me and take notes as you go and play it back and get some good notes on classes and objects. And I'll see you on Tuesday, hopefully. Okay, the first thing you need to know is that Java is object oriented. This is a very important concept. It's like if you don't understand this, you are going to have trouble on the AP exam. It's built on the idea of classes and objects. The class acts as the blueprint. Um, so it's like we build this class and it makes a blueprint for how we can build objects. There's some vocabulary. You need to make sure you know what is a class, what is an object, what are the attributes of the object, instance variables, and methods. Okay, so here's this first, I'm getting used to this cool pointer. The sample class I have is called cat, and I made a class and I built 3 objects. Okay, so the class is called the cat class. It has 3 instance variables: name, breed, and age. It has 6 methods: get name, get breed, get age, set name, set breed, and set age. These are called getters or accessor methods, and these are called mutator methods or setters. And those names like get and set are pretty standard. So if they ask you to write a method and it wants you to get something, you should probably say get and whatever you're getting. And if it wants you to change something, you probably should use set something. Okay, so cat 1 is built, and it's got as the name Dolly, the breed is Siamese, and the age is 5. And these 6 methods are all the same. The second cat object is called cat2, named George, Siamese, and 3 years old. Same methods apply for this object. And the method 3 I made was cat3. Pumpkin is the name of the cat, American Shorthair, and 2 years old. So you see that the instance variables change for the objects, okay? And that's why this is called one instance of the class. This is a second instance of the class, and this is a third instance of the class. The instance variables names are the same, but what is held in the name is different for each instance. The 6 methods, though, will all be the same for every object. Okay, moving on. Okay, so the object reference variable holds a memory address that points to the object. All right, so cat1 is a reference variable. It does not hold these 3 items, these 3 instance variables. It just has a reference address that points to the object that's stored in RAM. And that's just something you kind of need to remember. So cat2, same thing. It would have a different reference variable holding a different memory address for this, and the same thing for cat3. So just remember that the instance, each object is called an instance of the class. Okay, moving on to a sample circle class. This is an easier class to talk about. So let's just look at the program so far, the class. So you have the word public, class, circle. Circles capitalized. You have instance variable, just one, private double radius. And I'll talk about each one of these. A constructor, public circle. This is a default constructor, and it has initializes the instance variable radius to 0. And then you have a second constructor, double rad, which is like radius, which assigns radius, the instance variable, to whatever rad got passed through. Okay, so let's talk about this. Let me get my little notes up here. Okay, so class declaration is the first line of the class. Okay, it always starts with a uppercase, the name of the class. It's public so that everybody who programmers can write, use, and make objects from the class. The instance variables are uh, private because you don't want people to be able to change these variables unless they go through the class. So, but you need to know that unlike primitive local variables, default values are assigned to these instance variables. You need to remember that integers are 0, doubles are 0.0, and Boolean is false, and object is null. Now, these are assigned these primitive, these are assigned these default values because it could be that no constructor exists. You've seen a few programs where there's no constructor. Well, there really is. Java creates it and it just puts 0 for every integer instance variable. It puts double 0.0 for every double. False Booleans are set to false. That's something you need to remember. And then objects have null, which means they have no value. And it will give you an error if you try to use an object that's only got a null value. But that's why they have default values. Regular primitive variables local variables that you create in a method or something, you have to initialize. Okay, that being said, we have two constructors here. So we didn't really need these default ones because we built a default constructor. Constructors have the same name as the class, circle. Okay, so and this is a public constructor, and they usually are public. And the constructors initialize the instance variables. So these two things are mandatory, okay? You gotta have instance variables and you gotta have constructors. Okay, they have the same name as the class and they come after the instance variables. Okay, now this particular constructor, this first one, is a no argument constructor. Okay, that means that you see these two soft brackets right here, soft parentheses. There's nothing inside them. That means no arguments were passed into it when it was called, okay, from the creating object. Meaning that you could create an object and just it automatically defaults to a radius of 0. Okay, so a default constructor is one where there's no objects, no arguments being passed. Okay, the second one is a parameterized constructor, and that's because it has parameters being fed into it. The formal parameters, this is called a formal parameter, that match the arguments that are passed when the new object's created, so from the tester. And it assigns radius whatever got passed through. Whatever rad is, it assigns to radius. So sometimes you want to make a circle and you know the radius. The radius needs to be 5, so you would use this one. And sometimes you just want to create a blank circle and you're going to assign the radius later, you would use this constructor. Now, it's nice that Java knows which one to use based on what you say when you create the object. We're going to talk about the methods next. Okay, so public and private, these words are called visibility modifiers or access level modifiers, meaning like, okay, who can see them, who can use them, okay? Public in the class, I said already, means any program can make objects from the class, okay? Private in the instance variables means the other class does not change the data stored in the object without asking. All right, here's something, AP. In AP, always make instance variables private, okay? So, when you have to create instance variables, make sure you remember to put the word private up there. Okay, a class doesn't have to have a constructor, I already said. Java's going to make a default, but it's highly recommended. If no constructor is written, the default values are set to the instance variables. We already talked about that in the last one. Okay, so this is kind of neat. The phrase has a refers to instance variables of a class. In other words, a object name has a instance variable name. So when somebody's talking about a has a relationship, it's really saying, hey, does the instance variable exist for the object? So does a circle has a radius. The thing that comes after has a would be your instance variable name, and the class is the object name, the name of the object. So a circle has a radius, okay? All right. So an example from a tester class of a call to construct or create a new object could be circle, circle1 equals new circle. This creates a new circle object that has a radius of 0. So let's look at it again. You use the type. This is the class name. It's a type circle. Here's the name, my reference variable name, circle1, name of my object, equals new. New is the keyword, and circle is the name of the class, and then it has no parameters. That means it goes to this, it finds this constructor when this is called in the tester and goes, okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to assign radius 0. Okay? So it has no argument and it matches the default constructor with no parameters. Okay, this is an example from a tester class of a call to a constructor creating a new object using the constructor that has a parameter. So circle again, circle2 this time, new reference equals new circle 2. Okay, so it's calling this constructor because this is the one that has a parameter. So the radius, or rad we called it here, is assigned to radius. So this would say when this is created, it would be an object called circle2 and it would have a radius of 2 inside it. Okay? Okay, I'm going to pause and make a second video so this one's not too long.